quite heavy puddles of water laying on the ground, even though the surface drains very well. Fullback for the Sydney City Roosters is Darren Journey. Winger Peter Clark. Centres Jason Hudson and Luke Ricketson wearing number 13. Shane Werrett, the other winger. Phil Clark at 5'8". The Great Britain and Wigan international at 5'8", alongside Andrew Walker, who's moved into halfback. The forwards, Gaffey, Iro, Smith, Hermanson, Lowry and Garlick. St George Dragons, led out by Mark Coyne. Won't Mark Coyne and Wayne Bartram still be celebrating that State of Origin win? Chris Quinn at fullback, Ricky Walford on the wing, Mark Coyne, Graham Bradley, Jeff Orford, the other three quarters, Anthony Mundine at 5'8", Noel Goldthorpe halfback, and the forwards, Wayne Bartram, Gordon Tallis, David Barnhill, Jason Stevens, Nathan Brown, Tony Priddle. There's Tony Priddle with plenty of Vaseline on the eyebrows and the chin, expecting some heavy body contact out there, just hoping that the blows don't stick and just slide off the face. Eddie Ward ready to blow the whistle. Wired for sound. And underway in these slippery, sloppy conditions, and Darren Journey takes it on the boot to stop it. Of course, the balls are wet weather footballs, which improves the handling compared to a few years ago, but nevertheless, the kicking game will be important. The handling has to be careful. Jason Lowry to play it. Garlick in a dummy half, gets it away to Smith. 10 short of halfway, and there should be a tremendous battle between these two teams who have got to a point in the competition, almost looked like an elbow flying through the air from Stevens. I think it looked a lot worse than it really was. Charge down on Journey, up in the air, St George's ball, and they've got it through Orford. Or in fact, it's Goldthorpe who's come up with it. And the first penalty of the match goes to the Dragons. And Eddie Ward in there quickly. Well, Debbie, I can tell you, I can see what the conditions are like. What else can you tell us?
Well, there isn't anything much else that's going to be a factor other than the wet weather. There's no breeze to speak of. And as you said, the field's draining pretty well. It's only cutting up a little bit in the middle. Lots of pools of water along the sideline. But I think under the conditions, the surface has come up well.
So Jason Stevens takes it forward. Another penalty against the Sydney City Roosters inside the 10. Goldthorpe races up, but he might take the shot for 2 instead.
Yes, there they are, the Sydney City Roosters, a little bit too keen on that occasion, and that tends to be a problem in the wet. You like to creep up inside the 10 metres. And Eddie Ward and the touch judge onto him. There's Phil Clark, the Great Britain international, come over to play for Eastern Suburbs, signed with the ARL. Played for Wigan for many seasons. Played 5'8" in one of the test matches. In fact, I think he played 5'8" in the second and the third test match over in England. So interesting to see him be picked there by Phil Gould.
And you can see very similar records for and against between these two teams. 222-4 for Sydney City, 212 for the Dragons, 185-200 against. But the difference is that Easts, I've already fallen into it, the Roosters are about to meet the top teams in the competition. St George have already played them and for the most part lost to them. Bartram for a goal and misses, just going left. He was on target pretty well the other night. 82% is his record for the season.
That could have been a 2-pointer in Wollongong last night.
Craig Salvatore still on the injured list. He's missed a great deal of this season. Should be back soon, though.
Yeah, Warren, Craig Salvatore's on the bench today.
Oh, I didn't realise. I thought he was still out.
Lamb.
So just inside the Roosters' half.
It didn't take Phil Clark long to get into the action. St George's first tap, he's responsible for a very good tackle on Priddle.
And going through there was Orford, very close. They're claiming the try, but the touch judge has got his flag in the air. Journey was in all sorts of trouble there in the corner. Graham Bradley stalks back to his position.
Well, interesting tactics by St George. Let's have a look at this. Looks like it may have been a knock back by Journey. Graham Bradley's in there, and the ball does go on the line. So a good decision by the touch judge. Interesting tactics. Here come the Saints on the charge.
Bradley standing one off the scrum, buried by the Roosters. Took 4 men to put him down as they swamped in all over the top of him. Goldthorpe to Stevens, and he's got 4 over the top of him as well. Quickly, Gaffey runs back to his position, right in centre field. And the Dragons looking for early points here. Solid defence, though, from the Roosters. Over the top was Clark. Barnhill now. Steps off the right, can't get through. Now Quinn up in the line. He gets away from Smith, or he tried to, but the Fen didn't push him off. They've wasted a couple, St George. Last tackle now. Goldthorpe flings a lovely pass, and it's juggled, but he's got it. And over goes Gordon Tallis. Lovely pass from Noel Goldthorpe, an absolute perler. And Tallis into space, just had to hang on to the ball. A few hearts in the mouths of St George supporters, but the first points are on the board to Gordon Tallis. St George 4, Sydney City 0.
Yeah, here we go, Noel Goldthorpe. 5th tackle, the eastern suburbs of the Roosters players anticipating a kick. Shane where it stuck with his winger, and a huge hole for Gordon Tallis. He juggled it on a couple of occasions. Here's the ball here. Great ball from Noel Goldthorpe. He's been in golden touch in recent weeks, and there's no stopping Gordon Tallis that close to the line.
Yeah, just a magnificent pass. I mean, East had plenty of defenders there. They moved up, but one of them went in and just left that hole out wide. And Tallis running into the hole. He was always putting himself in the position for his halfback. And Tallis' 8th try of 1995, just 21 years old, from Townsville. And if he hasn't already got a big career happening, well, the future looks even rosier.
Imagine being 21 years of age, just starting out your football career nowadays with the money that's going around. You know, it's fair to say that the bloke 21 plays for 10 years. Gordon Tallis' ability is probably worth $3 million at the end. There's the kick, and it's waved away.
And almost on target from Bartram, and not quite straight or long enough. St George 4, the Roosters 0.
Yeah, great start by Saints, because they're at the right end of the field in these conditions. But look at that, beautiful shot. Look, Tallis was open, just juggled the ball and got over. That's his 4th try, I think, in the last 2 weeks. He got 3 last week.
Well, the Roosters' defence there was 4 defenders, and they were marking up on 2 attackers. So lack of communication by the back line there. I think they were expecting a kick.
Well, Luke Ricketson went in on his opposite, and I think the winger should have gone in on the centre.
Yeah, but Petey, they did have numbers there to have done a much better job of marking up, didn't they?
Yep. Great awareness by Goldthorpe.
Penalty against the Roosters. They've given away 3 already. And this is 15 metres short of halfway.
Yeah, Jason Lowry in the play the ball area and not making any attempt to roll away. You will get caught in the ruck area at some stage, but you have to show the referee that you're attempting to get away from there.
I wonder whether he thought he'd left enough room for Nathan Brown to step over him and get a bit closer, because the ball was heeled back some distance. Now Bartram mucking under a tackle which came in, ball and all. 8 all in reserve grade. Good strong battle. Both teams pretty strong in reserve grade.
Yeah, some big names in the Sydney City side. Desi O'Donnell. Of course, the Graham Mackay, the winger.
Scott Murray, Brendan Hall, all blokes who have played first grade, and plenty of it. Now the kick rebounds, the referee will play the knock on. Brian Smith, the St George coach up there, goes for the goes for the radio, and Jeff Carr, the New South Wales manager, behind him.
Hey, Warren, there we saw the halfback trying to cut a cutout ball again to try and hook onto Bradley. That could be a problem. I don't think you can overdo it in conditions like today, but Tallis hooked onto one, and they're in a good position at the moment, Saints.
I think what they've done early with that kick, Petey, we saw when the ball was ruled to go into touch, what they've done is they put the eastern suburbs compressed defence in 2 minds. Yeah, when you've got a smart bloke like Goldthorpe that can read things like that, he's got a nice flick of his hands and he can really put a ball 15 yards. And the compressed defence, that is one area where it is vulnerable, that is the kick to your winger. And I don't know why more teams don't do it early, because it must put the defence in 2 minds.
Just inside the Dragons half, and Walker with the kick down towards Quinn. You can see the ball skidding and going dead in goal. And you can see it's all St George early in this match. They've had all the ball, 87%, and have been camped for the most part down the Roosters' end. Now Brown will take the tap. Stevens motors forward. Just wonder when the Roosters finally decided on their lineup, because Phil Gould would have been coaching the New South Wales team for the first half of the week. And I believe Joe Thomas, who's assistant coach, has been doing quite a bit of the team guidance while Gould has been away. But quite a few changes in the lineup that was in the program, and hard to keep track of it. I wonder when it was decided amongst the team. Phil Gould watching on intently as Brown kicks forward down to Junee, 10 metres out from his own line. Plenty of chasers coming through, and Junee taken by Bradley.
Warren, that's a good asset in the wet too, to have a hooker that can kick out a dummy half on wet days. I mean, yardage is to a minimum, I guess, with a heavy ball, but Brown then kicked about 30 metres, 40 metres downfield. But I'll tell you what's shown up already. That Phil Clark's got a tremendous tackling technique.
And the kick by Brown from dummy half was off his left boot, so he can get out from either side, John.
Yep.
The markers are going to have that much more difficulty covering him. Here's Walker trying to beat off the tackle of Walford.
Hey, Warren, another thing in these conditions, you just got to stay clear of that sideline. You got to just pretend the 10-metre line is the sideline, I guess, with all these slippery conditions. Here's problems with Tallis and Hermanson.
Bartram and Lowry also shaping up. Eddie Ward had already given a penalty against St George for being inside the 10.
A little bit of a warning on the run for Gordon Tallis. He's a fiery character. He likes to mix it. There's plenty of plenty of Roosters players that will accommodate him if he wishes today.
3-1 the penalties now in favour of the Dragons. The Roosters 35 metres out with the best ball they've had so far. Clark gets it out to Ricketson, I think it was, running off his shoulder. No, in fact, that was Smith. Now Hermanson plays it back. Iro winds up down the blind side, finds Clark. 18 out. St George forced to defend their line for the first time. Smith, Lowry. And he takes another couple of metres, moved off the mark, really. Walker playing halfback. Kicks high and across field, pressure for Orford. Werrett coming through, and Orford's done very well. Jeff Orford, what a take.
Well, you won't see much better than that. In the wet, going backwards, plenty of pressure from the Roosters defenders. And Jeff Orford playing against his old club. There it is. Ricketson's in there, as he is Werrett. And that's a fantastic take. You just can't describe it any other way.
So Mundine now. Mark Coyne with strapping around his head. He's got stitches in his ear and he's looking for Brown here. Brown downfield. Tackled over the sideline, though. Well, that's what Johnny Peard was talking about. Good defence by Jason Hudson to follow him.
Well, it's great to have two players with such nous. There he is, throws a little dummy here. There looked to be a player on the inside. Mark Coyne it was. Couldn't position himself. And as Peardy said, you're always going to slide over the sideline in these conditions. Nathan Brown showing some good enterprise, and him and Goldthorpe certainly steer the Saints around the field in a great fashion.
Clark gave it to Hudson, but Eddie Ward says St George were inside the 5 metres from the scrum base. And quickly the penalty kick taken for the sideline by Walker. It's a deep one inside the St George 20.
Well, that's good play, Andrew Walker.
Now Hermanson, former Souths player who's yet to really hit his straps this season, battling a bit of a right knee injury. High tackles over the top. Just 5 out. Lowry to play it. Smith. Walker gets it back for Clark. Clark is fast. Look at him go. And chopped down just short. Desperate defence there by Quinn. Ricketson has a go himself. Just short still. On their goal line, St George. Walker to Smith. And he gets out of one tackle. Looked for Garlick. Still with East, though. Junee was up there in support. Good work by him just to be there. Last tackle coming up. The Roosters on fire, and Walker puts the kick through. Brown touches it down, though. Well, great defence by St George and some very promising attack by the Roosters.
Yeah, Phil Clark. There's a little kick through by Andrew Walker. Good thinking. Nathan Brown covering up well for the Dragons. Phil Clark, when he made that break, just needed someone on his inside, and they're under the posts.
Gee, they created some room by Peter. There's a pop-back ball by James Smith, very underrated player, and then the cut-out ball from Andrew Walker. Gee, it gave some daylight for Clark.
We're seeing some quality football by both teams. St George in no hurry. Gould-coached drops out. And they're going to have to keep the Roosters out here. Juni gets it back to Lowry. And the Roosters are breaking a few tackles. Garlick, Hermanson runs at Barnhill. Another penalty. So we've had 3 in a row against St George after they got the first 3 penalties of the match. Right in front, this one, only 13 metres out. You can throw it over.
Yeah, they must go for the 2. Andrew Walker walking up inside the 10, the Dragons. And there they are, all up inside the 10. Eddie Ward talking to them as he goes back, but taking no notice of Eddie. And the penalty goes to the Roosters. And interesting today, talking about Terry Hermanson, the Kiwi, interesting comment by Ken Arthurson, was that the ARL, in their opinion, the ARL clubs are not obliged to release their players to go play for New Zealand this year after the fracas with New Zealand going to Super League. So that's an interesting situation.
And likewise, the fact that all the transfer fees are off as well. So Wigan won't be getting, what is it, £70,000 for Phil Clark. So I guess it's the gloves, well, the gloves have been off for a while and they're still off. Now Walker right in front. 50% this season, and right in front, his average will improve rapidly. 4 points to 2 in favour of St George. We have got a game on our hands here.
And Warren, I can understand why the St George forwards would want to jump the gun off the defensive line, because fellas like Hermanson and Lowry made to measure conditions for them today, particularly Hermanson. He had good centre of gravity, fairly close to the ground, solid lads. They could have some problems with the east front row.
Good Carlo Park conditions. Now, Juni goes back to the goal line. Took it well.
Phil Clark's not mucking around in his debut, topping the count already. And as Johnny Pearce said, he has got a tremendous defensive technique. And I've got no doubt that that's why Phil Gould has put him at 5'8" today, to help shore up and help counter the likes of Tallis, Poodle running wide.
Here's Clark now. And he bounced away from Tallis's tackle, but he ran into Moore on the inside in Stevens. Walker's kick is out on the full. Not too much in it, but no doubt about it.
Yeah, good pressure from Nathan Brown, who's been in everything today, and nothing in that really. Just goes over by a centimetre or 2. That's enough to bring it back to the 40-metre line, and St George on the attack.
Just some word from the East Camp, Peter, that Phil Clark, geez, there's one against the feeds. That's a lucky break for East. They've got some numbers here too.
And Juni's got it back and he finds Gaffey. He's given it away to Clark. Clark comes away from the touchline. He knows there's plenty of tackles to go as he's knocked over by Walford. Only 25 metres out. Clark, as in Phil Clark this time. We've got Peter Clark on the wing, Phil Clark at 5'8". James Smith. St George under pressure, ruining that scrum against the feed. Garlick, stopped by Barnhill. 5 out. Walker, the kick. And is it too deep? No, it's fine. Orford can't hang on to this one. He's got to get out now. And, well, Jeff Orford, he took a great take a few moments back. That one was much easier, and he completely muffed it. When if he'd taken it on the full, it's back to the 20.
Oh, it's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, Jeff Orford leapt like Dermot Brereton earlier, and here's one's a wobbly-looking kick, but and he had to run to get into position, run backwards, and makes a real meal of it. The Roosters will good chase there by Shane Werrett, Luke Ricketson, and they'll get the ball back.
Gould-coached to drop out. Peter, you had some news.
Oh, just on Phil Clark. I was talking to a couple of in the East camp. They said he's already created an impression at East just with his professionalism at training. So he's going to be a great asset to East.
And referee Eddie Ward gives a penalty here against one of the St George players who had dumped on top of Hermanson.
Well, I don't know what that's about. Gordon Tallis claiming, pointing to his head. Maybe he's pointing at that bad haircut he's got, but...
Was it a lift in the tackle?
Well, Hermanson and Tallis have had a running battle. Seems nothing in that so far, and just the flop from Gordon Tallis and the hand on the face. No need for that. And that gives St George another 6 tackles. Watch Tallis just flop down here. And Eddie Ward, that's one of his pet hates.
St George started the game strongly, but they're going backwards at a rate of knots right here. Giving away penalties, making mistakes. They're 10 out from their own post. The Roosters yet to score a try. 4 points to 2 in favour of the Dragons. Up the middle comes Judy. He's gone straight through. Great tackle by Quinn, though. Quinn saves a try. Not far out, though, the Roosters. Quick hands wide. It's play on here for Werrett. Orford's on top of him and makes the tackle. I suppose Shane Werrett is one reason that Jeff Orford left the Roosters. Now Lowry. He can't make too much headway. 5th tackle. Walker calls for it. He's kicked into the back of Brown. That's a St George. No, it's a penalty. Penalty against the Dragons for offside play. Will they take the quick tap? Iro was after it. And Walker's going to shoot for goal.
Well, there's plenty of feeling out there between these two sides. Andrew Walker having a few words to say to a couple of his former teammates. Nathan Brown was the man offside. Now let's have a look at Nathan Brown. Yeah, he looked to be offside. Comes in and puts great pressure on Walker. And Eddie Ward finds a penalty. Perhaps he'd learned his lesson with Tony Hearn the other night.
Pretty smart play by Nathan Brown, if he had got away with it, Peter, because did you see where he was? Right on Andrew Walker's blind side. He came in at 100 miles an hour. It'd be interesting to see that again, that goal line defence.
So Walker raised the flags the first time close to the posts, and this is just outside the right-hand upright. There's been 6 straight penalties against St George after they got the first 3 of the match. Walker looking to level the scores. And the flags are up. So it's 4 points all between Sydney City and St George. Another look at that penalty.
Well, there it is, Peardy. He comes in on the blind side. It's pretty hard to tell from that replay whether he was offside, but for mine he must have been. And he's a clever little player.
Yeah, he's 1 or 2 rucks ahead of the average guy.
He's getting better as he gets older, Nathan Brown, as most players do.
Well, he would be a player who's looking to have a big game here. If the New South Wales selectors were looking at Jim Sedaris' position, Nathan Brown's in line for selection.
Actually, when St George were defending just before that penalty, I noticed a gap between the markers and the first defender. And he came up with a play, Junie trying to sneak up in behind that area then. So that's one area in the wet. I think you've just got to keep yourself watertight around that ruck area.
St George now making 57 tackles to the Roosters 33. So all the possession has turned right around.
I think that area behind the ruck has become one of the most vulnerable positions in rugby league since the invent of the 10-metre rule, simply because they're the blokes on either side of the ruck, and the blokes have to go up and back and up and back every ruck. And, you know, with this new 10-metre rule, at times, the simple fact of the matter is there will be holes there. And I think Canberra are the side that really have invented, and we saw that great move last night when Ken Nager scored a try. They've really started to exploit that vulnerability around that area. Most sides now are taking note of it.
They've reinvented. It was an old Canterbury move years ago in the days of Malcolm Clift and in the great 70s and 80s sides.
Goldthorpe's kicked out of the goal line, taken by Junie. It was interesting, too, to see Sean Garlick about to attempt the charge down, and then rather than put the arms up above his head as he was closing, he just pulled them down. I think he thought that it was better to let the kick go than maybe give away 6 more. Roosters just inside their own 20 as Clark plays it.
Geez, they've had some possession, Warren. Haven't they, East?
Complete turnaround, Petty, to the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're using the ball well, too. Very open game for the conditions.
Hermanson steams ahead up to the 10-metre line. Brown in to make another tackle here on Clark. And it's very slippery just in that patch, just short of halfway. Walker quickly off the mark to get away from Bradley. Kicks ahead. Great work by Walker. Toes it ahead. Coyne's chasing. Well, Quinn is getting back. And Hudson dives on top of Quinn as he forces it to save the day. But Chris Quinn did well. He had to come from the other side of the post to chase.
Wow, great work from Andrew Walker. Realised there was no one in the second line of defence. Puts it on the toe again. He meant that for his winger. But let's give credit to Chris Quinn. There's Hudson chasing, but Chris Quinn's the first one to the ball. And that's what you want your fullback to do. There he is, little Choco Mundine. Bit of a problem with his eye.
Might even just have some mud in it. So the third dropout from George. And Garlick brings it back. In a dummy half goes Gaffey. James Smith, 10 short of halfway. You wonder how long St George can keep the Roosters out from scoring a try. Iro up the middle, goes Clark, reaches for the line. Eddie Ward's there, checks, and he awards the try. Peter Clark running straight onto that pass. Still had plenty of work to do as he busted the line. Good work by the rangy winger. And the Roosters have scored their first 4-pointer here as Iro went across field, running the angle straight and hard. Peter Clark crashes through the tackle of Brown and reaches out well and gets a down, fair try.
Yeah, changing direction in the wet's always a good play. Iro drifts across field. There's the change of direction. Tony Priddle couldn't set himself, fell off the tackle. Nathan Brown does his best, as does Quinn. But Clark running into the hole beautifully. Watch this now. Now, David Barnhill was there. He couldn't get across and make the tackle. Tony Priddle a little bit off balance, and he slipped out of that tackle, and Clark goes in for a great try to the Roosters. And they needed to get some points on the board with the concerted pressure and possession they had. To go in at half-time with no tries would have been a disaster for the Roosters.
Peter Clark, who joined the Roosters this year from Manly, where he mainly played lower grades, just 21 years old, another young guy, New South Wales under-19.
It's always a great idea in the wet to change direction as much as you can in attack, for the simple reason that people can't get their footing.
Well, St George had a fair bit of defence there, didn't they? They just couldn't stop him. Walker, they're getting progressively more difficult. This one slides out, just misses, and the Roosters 8 lead St George 4.
Plenty of pressure from East. Look at this goal line defence. Look at Barnhill, the 11. He probably should have speared into Clark then. He waited because he thought Priddle had the man, but geez, you've just in the wet, you've just got to go head into these guys, and they've come up with a try just from concerted pressure, East.
26 minutes of play gone. Juni gives it to Hermanson. Almost a shepherd as he went behind Garlick. And now it's all Sydney City. 510 metres to St George's 369. Remember, early on, St George had 87% of the ball. Now the Roosters have had 68. Miserable afternoon. Good afternoon to stay at home and watch it on the TV.
Terrible afternoon to be on a sideline watching the game, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it must be horrible down there. Here's Iro.
It's all right for $2 a week.
9 cents a day, Peter, you're doing well.
Now, Walker knocked over by Bradley, and Walker had a look at him, but it was fair enough. Walford takes it. Good evasive run by Walford. Enjoying the afternoon, folks. Now, Mark Coyne, who hasn't seen much ball so far.
He's another bloke can be dangerous in the wet because he's got a great step.
Barnhill, nice offload back to Mundine. Time to go forward, though. Priddle gave the pass to Goldthorpe. Thought that Priddle might have been able to go himself. Jason Stevens. Solid charge from Iro. Iro just back from suspension. And another penalty. This time it is against the Roosters. Has the tide turned?
Well, it may have turned, Warren, but one thing for sure, and there we see the penalty. Jason Stevens slipping and sliding all over the place. He's not allowed to get up and play the ball quickly enough. It's been a high-quality game considering the conditions. It's been a great game, in fact. Both sides throwing everything at each other, both in defence and attack. Enjoyable afternoon at the footy, Warren.
Well, they've both come to play the game, and they're playing it well, and Quinn almost finds the hole, or does, stumbles through it. 10 out. Brown dummy half. Bradley, Mundine, long pass for Coyne. Coyne takes off, steps off that right foot, got away from Hudson, back now to Mundine. Oh, brilliant stepping, Anthony Mundine. Great footwork, and the try to St George. Well, the tide has turned, but very suddenly. It's been all the Roosters for a good 15 or 20 minutes. Suddenly, it's St George hitting back. Lovely football here. Bradley to Mundine outside. Mundine is handled twice. Gives Coyne a bit of room. Tries to get Clark on his right foot. Clark seemed to be playing in the centres there. Mundine, the dummy, the step, straight past Junee. Very hard to stop from there was Anthony Mundine.
Yeah, Mark Coyne's the man that makes this try. There's Anthony Mundine, throws the long ball to Coyne. He comes off his right foot, that famous right foot step of his. Shows great strength and awareness to get the ball to Mundine. Throws a dummy, and this little bloke can play the game. Great on his feet. We'll get a better look at Mundine's run from here. And he's got everything, Anthony Mundine, and he would always do well on the wet weather. Stepping for little guys in the wet is a lot easier than for the big guys. And Hudson gets completely filled, and Junee beaten by the step. And Mark Coyne puts Anthony Mundine in for a great try to the little fellow. Mark Coyne, if any bloke deserves an Australian jersey, Mark Coyne is one, in my opinion.
Bartram ready to take shot, 10 metres in from touch. Has missed with 2 so far. And that makes 3 misses. 2 tries to St George, tallying their 8 points. 1 to the Roosters in their 8. They've got an 8-all draw at the moment.
Well, there's the ruck beforehand. Nathan Brown unloading. And Chris Quinn goes for a good run here. And how'd you see this one, Peardy? Must be having some communication problems with the sideline at the moment. Must be the wet weather. Something's shorted out. We'll have another look at it. Anthony Mundine. There's that compressed defensive line piece, and so as you're always sliding across field, vulnerable to the inside step, as we saw, and there's Anthony Mundine, twinkle toes, goes in about 10 metres in from the touchline.
Now Quinn, who almost found himself through to the try line just before that try was scored. St George have really made the most of their opportunities. Cracked that Roosters defence several times for 2 tries. Barnhill standing, showing his strength. It's Iro Gaffey, the tacklers. Goldthorpe scurries. Well tackled, though. Coming over the top was Garlick. Garlick, the former South Sydney player, who's made his way, fought his way into the top lineup ahead of David O'Donnell, and is now captain of the side.
Yeah, done a great job.
Brown off his left foot on the last tackle. Tallis is galloping through. Junee's got the ball, loses it backwards, and he's put a foot into touch as well. So that's a disaster from Darren Junee.
Well, unfortunate for Darren Junee on the occasion. Really in a situation where there's not much he could do about this. The only thing he could do, I suppose, is go on the deck there, but even so, he may have slid out over the sideline. That's just great play by St George. Plenty of pressure on Junee. And as Johnny Pearce said earlier,
well, he had to just take the tackle, didn't he? Rather, he tried to run it once picking it up. I know it's easy to say from here, but well, he just had to take the tackle or get straight onto his right foot and go back the other way. They've already lost 1 scrum against the feed, St George. They're 20 metres out here. Tremendous attacking position for them. 8 points all. 8 minutes till half-time. Mundine, Coyne, Quinn's up on his outside. Tackled by Junee. Mundine to Bradley. Loses it. Jolting tackle. It came out. And it was Hermanson who caused the ball to come loose. Wear it now. And he's into touch. Well, you've called it well early and on, Penny, but it's a penalty. And that's a tough penalty, I reckon.
Yeah, very tough.
That was a continuous tackle. That was not complete, surely.
No, I go along with Johnny Pearce on that one. If you look at it on the replay, Peardy's the man, he's the wet weather expert. He can take you through it.
Yeah, tough decision on Saints. They really need to be down that end of the field. And now the advantage is with East. As they try to... Well, they've come up with an error now.
First tackle. And both teams falling into error after playing so well early in the half. Maybe it's just getting a little bit slippery, or they're getting tired. Concentration might not quite be there. Brown does well. Stevens, he was looking for Priddle. Mundine's got it. And that's probably more trouble for the Roosters, because Mundine is looking sharper and sharper. Goldthorpe looks at Priddle. Instead goes in the direction of Barnhill. What a difference his return from that 4-week suspension has made to St George. They've suddenly been a far superior side. And lost by Tallis. This came out.
I think Jason Stevens is offside. There's Nathan Brown throwing the cutout pass across Stevens. And Gordon Tallis can't get control, and Jason Stevens was onside, so good decision by Eddie Ward. Yeah, no Gould-coached, but there is big Salvo. He'll be keen to make an impression, get himself back in the first grade pack.
I reckon he'd have about a strong 5 minutes in him.
I wouldn't be too much warming up if I was Sal.
I might throw him on just before
He'd be
half
exhausted.
It's always a risk, though, isn't it? I mean, he is going to be short of match practice. You use up one of your interchanges if you use him, even though we know how good he can be at his best. Garlick fires a nice little pass away too. Good support there for him as they cross the halfway line. Smith has been in everything, James Smith. Clark now gets it wide to Iro, to Gaffey. Pass looked a little forward.
Iro's been doing some very good things with the ball just on the fringe of the ruck. He's not a bad ball player. I thought he was just a runner, but he's using ball as well. And he's 6 more to East.
6 more from a poor kick by Clark, but they've got the bonus 6.
Yeah, and a poor option by Gordon Tallis as well. 30 metres out the line, no pressure at all. He went up for the ball. He's a second rower. He should have just left that alone, let East take it.
And it's a wet day.
And it's a wet day. And he just likes to go bull at the gate a little bit too much for me, Gordon Tallis. Well, I love the way he goes bull at the gate. I think it's great, but at times he's got to take a little bit of time out and have a think about what he's doing. And
I think Lowry has lost the ball here as he tried to play it and it didn't get to his feet in the first place. Salvatore's on. Hermanson is off. 20 out. Another scrum St George need to win.
Well, there they are, St George 92, Sydney City 63, and looking at that stat, a very good performance by the Saints to still be at 8-all.
Now the Roosters are inside the 5 from the scrum base. The backs got to be 5 metres back from the base of that scrum. And the ball was in the scrum for a while and they'd crept up.
Well inside the... What do you got to be 5 metres back from the lock's feet?
Yep.
So well inside that.
Brown to take the tap, 8 short of halfway. And with both teams falling into error just before half-time, the last thing they want to do is concede a try here. Gould-coached. Oh, big hit. I think it was Smith again. It was Smith. He's hit Tallis, and Tallis has just coughed the ball up.
Well,
he had it, and then it was gone.
Oh, it was a great hit. Let's have a look at this one again. There's the ball from Noel Gould-coached. Tallis in the hole, and just a smacking hit. That's what you get in the wet weather.
He's a good lad, this James Smith.
He's a Queenslander, isn't he, Johnny?
No, he's from Cootamundra, and his dad, Frank. Hello, Frank. He'd be watching from home up at Cootamundra. He's a farmer up there, but he's very proud of James. Always been one of the players at East with the most potential, and he's just starting to show it. He uses his feet well with the ball, and he can hit.
There's a lot of pushing and arguing going on in this scrum, and Eddie Ward has called the front rows out. Had a word with them. Would we see a scrum penalty? We haven't seen one for a long, long time. Walker's after it. Gaffey takes it. And another penalty against the Dragons. Neither side is learning. Up inside that 5 metres from the scrum base once more. They've got to wait till they know the ball's at a scrum.
Well, that might be a little bit unlucky. Yeah. A little bit unlucky on that occasion.
No, he's invented that one this week.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. But it's put pressure right on them. They're only 10 metres out from their own line, the Dragons here. 2 minutes 30 till half-time. Lowry hit by Stevens. Priddle in there underneath. Garlick gives it to Walker. Inside for Gaffey. Gaffey halfway through. Just juggled the ball, and Smith was on his left backing up. The juggle stopped him passing. Garlick throws a dummy. Close. Thrown back. Well, probably not the worst option.
Yeah, 8 points all in the wet weather. But I don't think that was the 5th tackle. You know, and I'd probably say that not being the 5th tackle, although a field goal in these conditions, the extra 1 point can often make the difference, but not being the 5th tackle with a minute and a half on the clock, you tend to try and go for the try. I would anyway, but Andrew Walker. Front kicker of the football decided to go for the 1, and they get the ball back.
1 set of 6 to hold out till half-time as Smith brings it back. 30 metres out. Salvatore is carrying a pound or two. Iro. Still going, Iro. Pulled out of Tallis' tackle eventually. Got it to the 10. Great run by Tony Iro. Eddie Ward waving St George back. They're creeping, they're up. He could penalise them. Walker's for the field goal again, and this one is through. Goldthorpe seems to be claiming that it had been touched, but it looked okay from here, and Walker gets the field goal at the second attempt with 45 seconds left on the clock. The Roosters lead 9-8.
Well, there he is, Andrew Walker. Set up for that one. Wayne Bartram goes in. Well, I think it looked to be deflected a little bit, and there's plenty of pointing. Be nice to have a look at that one again, actually, because I'm pretty sure there was a hand on that. The St George players claiming there was, and of course if there was touched, it's no goal. Let's have a look at it now in slow motion. Now there's the chasers. I actually think it might have come off an East player.
Yeah, it might come off Salvatore.
What's the ruling if it come off Salvatore? No goal still?
I'll check the rule book. I don't think it's a goal, but
offside. Yeah, you're right, Peardy.
It'd be interesting to hear from the St George players later on, Goldthorpe or Nathan Brown were the ones pointing. Find out what was happening. Whether or not that 1 point will count remains to be seen. But this is a good game of football. Both teams really going at each other. And it's all been hinging on possession at half-time. The Roosters lead 9 points to 8.
A great acquisition for the club. One of the great players in the Great Britain side.
Is Andrew Walker. It's a good battle going on between Walker and Mundine. They've been 2 of the better players on the field. And I suppose last year they were battling for the 1 spot. Today they're opponents. Debbie Spillane, news on any changes?
No changes reported as yet, but I'll have to check that one. The marker play is the main concern for Brian Smith in the St George dressing room, and he asked them to concentrate on doing the little things right, the things that they discussed before the game. Something he was very unhappy with was the scrum they lost against the head. In the Sydney Roosters dressing room, Phil Gould is obviously listening to John Pearce. He said keep them away from the sideline. He wants them to concentrate on the kick chase game, and he wants the forwards, hooker and second rower only in the marker play, and he wants the movable parts, as he calls them, back in position as quickly as possible.
And both teams in fresh jerseys. Got rid of the heavy wet ones. And Priddle tries to clear it away from the 20, where St George are trapped at the moment. Brown gives it to Stevens. Iro went in for, it was really a low shoulder charge, but he just fell off the tackle. Back to Goldthorpe for the kick, down towards Junee. And Darren Junee, what a great fist he's made of the transition from rugby union to rugby league. Scored a bunch of tries in, I think it was his first grade debut. Was in the starting lineup.
He was always touted as a player, Darren Junee, that would be successful in league, and he hasn't let us down. Of course, his dad, Kevin Junee, a great Eastern Suburbs player.
And his dad, Kevin, won 2 Rothmans medals with the club. Here's Lowry ploughing back into the St George half. And it is a day for ploughing. It's a day for forwards to really put their shoulder to the wheel. The conditions, the surface is okay, but it is heavy. Walker puts it up centre field. Chase is coming through, but not enough pressure, and well taken by Quinn. In the end, Ricketson was the only one who really came through, put pressure on. Top tacklers, Lowry, Smith and Gaffey for Sydney City, and Priddle, Bartram and Tallis for St George.
So Wayne Bartram not showing any ill effects from Wednesday night.
Orphan's lost it.
That's a mistake by St George. Exactly what Brian Smith was talking about. The simple things, you do them wrong, you're under pressure.
Well, Garlick seemed to just pull it out of his hands, whether or not it was intentional or part of a tackle. It almost looked like a deliberate strip. The referee didn't see it that way, and the Roosters are 5 metres out. Smith runs at Stevens, drives him sideways. Good solid tackle. In centre field, Garlick. Walker went to the blind side. Up the middle they go with Lowry. Back it comes to Clark. Brown's over the top. Clark is strong. Just 3 metres out. Clark's only been in the country a week. Iro on the blind side with numbers. Ricketson ducking low. Last tackle now. Iro stabs, Brown falls on it, and St George really need to play out a good set of 6 here, because the Roosters are moving the ball very nicely.
Here's Iro just going for a sneaky little kick through, and plenty of St George players there. St George's defence on their own line's been outstanding, only allowing 1 try, and considering the possession East have had, or the Roosters have had, it has been a great defensive effort. And here's a break for the St George side up the middle.
After a very good pass by Tallis, Damien McGarry ready to come on. Tallis, they've had a mixed first half. Scored a try, but also lost the ball a couple of times. Last tackle, Brown with the kick. And Junee goes back. Good line of chases there, but Junee smartly just went a little wide of the first prong of the chasing line. There's a little more room for him to move. Wayne Bartram has finally run out of gas. Tallis in defence there, all over the top of Gaffey. Walker's kick is deep. That's a great kick. And back goes Quinn. Ricketson got down there very quickly. He was obviously offside, but Quinn went 10 metres.
Good tactics by East. You've got to play on the opposition side's doorstep.
Yeah, well, John, we saw both teams making plenty of mistakes late in the first half after good control earlier. So, I mean, that kicking it, playing it down the other end has got to really become an important part of their tactics.
Yeah, particularly as players get tired, Warren. I think it's a tactic that you don't need a great deal of thought, just a little bit of enthusiasm, a good kicking game. Well, here's a damaging tackle on the replacement player. I think it's McGarry.
It is McGarry, Peardy.
Salvatore's still out there on the field. He's had about 10 minutes of play now, either side of half-time. Driven back, though, by some stern St George defence. Walker, now it's Iro, Junee, Salvatore, Lowry getting it away to Clark. The St George defence like ants coming from everywhere. They're only 25 out from their own goal line, though. Gaffey. Last tackle coming up now for the Roosters. Players out wide calling for the bomb. Walker puts it high and across field. Hanging there for Walford. He's knocked it forward and into touch. That will be a Rooster scrum feed. More pressure for the Dragons.
Well, it would have been a great take by Ricky Walford. There's the bomb. Pretty good bomb by Walker. Plenty of chases, that's what you need. And Werrett competing for the football. Or was that Clark competing for the ball? I think it was Clark. And that's what you've got to do when the ball goes in the air. You've got to make an effort, put some pressure on the opposition. And Walford comes up with the drop ball.
Walker's got it for Sydney City. Clark now turns it inside, and Ricketson running strongly. Cut down, though. Tackler was Bradley. Lowry plunges forward. Back to Garlick. Numbers out wide. Clark looks inside. Knocked over. Mark Bell's on for St George as well. Now Smith. 10 out from the posts. Sydney City leading 9-8. Gaffey. And he's knocked over by Barnhill. Still 10 metres out. Couple of tackles to go. Junee spins out of a couple of tackles. Can't get away from Bradley, though. 5th tackle now. Gaffey kicking in, but there's plenty of chases for St George. It's loose, and Walford's got it, but the referee says it was grounded by Barnhill or Coyne. Both of them were diving for it. Gould doesn't look too impressed with the result, really.
Good grafting tactics. There's a little kick through. A nice little kick into space, and Dave Barnhill does ground the ball. So St George facing their 3rd set of 6 in a row. And they've come up with a couple of mistakes early, St George. Haven't been able to get out of their own half, and St George and the Roosters side, that's the way they like to play. Phil Gould's style of football, grafting style of football. Likes to play field position. And it's working at this stage.
And Ricketson, the ref says it come off his foot. That he had at least got a hand to it. But he would have thought it was his boot that touched it. Garlick gives it to Lowry. St George being forced to do a mountain of work. 140 tackles now to 87, and Brian Smith knows that they just can't do this and get away with it for much longer. Clark. And you can bet that if the Roosters don't get any closer, they'll put up yet another bomb. And it's Salvatore, 12 out. And Iro charges the blind side. Strong stuff from Tony Iro. 1 to go for the Roosters. Walker is 15 metres to the right. Garlick puts it up into the end goal. Too deep, is it? Yes, too deep. Clark was chasing through, trying to knock it back into the end goal area. And they just couldn't find Andrew Walker when they needed him for another bomb there.
Well, there he is, Sean Garlick. Very ordinary kick out over the dead ball line on the full. And that's the pressure reliever that St George needed. Another drop out, another set of 6 might have been curtains for them. But their defence has been outstanding, St George. There's a total error of St George 20, Sydney City 11. But their defence on their own line, St George, the whole match has been incredible. It's very hard to defend in the wet because players slip through tackles, and there's a penalty. Things are turning around for the Saints.
News from the dressing room, Damien McGarry has concussion and a bruised jaw. As the Dragons find touch and take play back into the Roosters side of halfway, and we've had 10 minutes of play in this second half, and I don't think they've been down even on their side of halfway for more than a few seconds. Bradley, Walker, or Mundine, I should say. Hermanson ready to come back into the fray. Goldthorpe. Coyne turns him inside out. Oh, very nearly did brilliantly there. Coyne had no room to move in and almost beat a couple, got them going the wrong way. Mundine, Priddle, Barnhill. Dummies to Goldthorpe, went himself. They didn't fall for it. Garlick followed him. 20 out. Brown on the blind side, kicking. Juni's got it covered, took it on the full in the end goal. And that's a 20 tap.
Oh, he's reeled off. Hang on, no, he's changed his mind. Just gammon.
I think he knew what he had in mind, but pointed to the wrong line for a moment, Eddie Wood.
He did well, Damon Juni, there. Salvo coming off after a stint. A nice 15-minute stint. Went pretty well, too. Pretty confident. Bit of confidence back in his knee.
It's going to be a real boost for them to have Salvatore getting better and better each week if he can stay on the field for the rest of the year, and with Clark in the side.
Oh, they've got great depth.
They're only going to get better and better, the Roosters.
Got great depth in the forwards. They probably lack a bit of punch out wide, and I think that's been obvious today with St George having not much pill, but coming out with 2 tries, whereas the Roosters have had all the ball and have only been able to come up with 1 try. So put that down to St George's defence, but I think the Roosters would like a couple of real classy backs.
Walker kicking on the last. Low. Down to Quinn. And he's surrounded of a 4-man charging party there from the Roosters. They got the ball out with the tackle. Quinn's hurt. Sisti came away with it. Now it's Walford.
Adrian Lamb, State of Origin hero for Queensland, hasn't had a run as yet. Another penalty to St George. Things turning around. There's Chris Quinn. He's got a blood nose, so he's copped one as well. Plenty of casualties out there. Interesting situation, I suppose, and Johnny Peard, you're closer to the Roosters camp than I am. But Adrian Lamb, his performances in the Origin series, I suppose that puts the signing of John Simon in a different light, doesn't it?
Sure does. He's going to have his work cut out. Oh, there's
has hit the East player.
that could be Garlick, I think.
I think he just copped the arm of Zisti. It may have lifted accidentally in the tackle, and Garlick now, he's in Disneyland.
Well, he is down and out. Sean Garlick. Have a look at that one again on the replay. Now there he is, Zisti taking the ball up, and accidentally cops one in the chin. And that's good night nurse for Sean Garlick. We won't see him again today. Nick Zisti, that's, for mine, that's accidental. He didn't raise the elbow.
Yeah, he slightly raised the forearm, but I think you've got to say it wasn't so much an aggressive action. He didn't really lift it up high, did he? He didn't get it up horizontal, up in front of his face.
Well, Sean Garlick's...
And the play goes on. on this game, developing into a tremendous arm wrestle. Who is finally going to come away with it? The Roosters leading 9-8. Tallis rips through them, away from Hermanson, still going as Tallis. That break's given him time to psych up, but he's lost the ball now. It's come away. The support at least has lost it.
And there's another injury. St George player looks in all sorts of trouble.
Tremendous run there by Tallis. But he's in to make the tackle. I think he's angry with himself. So didn't turn into a try after a tremendous burst.
Well, he's a talent, Gordon Tallis. There's no doubting that. Explosive player.
Iro kicks through to Alford. And he can't get away from the diving Gaffey. Good tackle. 10 short of halfway.
It was a bad option by Tony Iro there. Orford well and truly had that covered, and now Saints in a good position on the field. They're around halfway. They haven't been there for a while.
Walford away from Hudson, kicks over the head of Junie. Walford racing for it. Junie gets back though. Good work by the fullback for a moment. I thought Walford had got past him.
And Warren, you'd have to say that was another bad option.
Early in the
attack. Oh, most definitely in these conditions.
Yeah, I don't know, Petey, but when you're that close to the sideline, I think the only option he had was to be driven out into touch.
Possibly, but he could have headed infield, I think.
What about a great pass from Mark Coyne? Isn't he in golden form, Coyne? And, yeah, well, he backed his ability, and I think he probably had no option. It was either that or go into touch for mine.
All right, well, I'll rectify that and say a little bit deeper the kick would have been handier.
So what about the situation at Sydney City, Petey, with the signing of John Simon? Adrian Lamb must feel, I suppose, a little bit disconcerted about it.
Well, John Simon is a very good player, but he'll have his work cut out. It'll be, I guess you could say it's a nice problem for Phil Gould to have.
Great problem.
Here's another long kick, but this looks like Bell, is it?
Yep.
Mark Bell on the field.
Now, and it looks as if Quinn is off.
I think it was
Quinn took a knock a little while ago.
He was off the Tallis pass. Quinn got absolutely hammered.
St George just needing to control the ball a little bit better, though that goes for both teams. Certainly one noticeable difference between the two is the length for which Walker can get with the bit. St George don't seem to be able to get that length. And a penalty now against the Roosters inside the 10.
Yeah, Eddie Ward calling the Roosters player out. I can't quite spot who that is. He called him out of it. You could see him point to him, actually, and say, stay out of it. Went in and made the tackle, so he had no choice but to award the penalty.
A few penalties starting to go the way of St George again. Colin Sakuru's on. Sean Garlick has been knocked out. He will not be returning this afternoon. Coyne. He breaks away from the tackle. Good work. He got out of Lowry's arms. He's having a blind to Mark Coyne. Every time he's touched it, he's been dangerous. First half, he didn't get enough of the ball. Barnhill, 18 out. Every time St George have got inside the 20, they've been very dangerous and come up with tries, unlike the Roosters. 10 out, last tackle. Goldthorpe stabs it in, back goes Walker, and Bradley's at his heels. He's cool, isn't he?
A little bit too cool, perhaps, for Phil Gould's liking on that occasion. Nolly Goldthorpe reads the play great. Was going to do a bombing-type kick there, but spotted there was a gap behind the play-the-ball area, and Walker just gets rid of it before Bradley pounces. And now it's the Roosters. I can't get used to that, can you?
Let's just give up on it.
Yeah, it's the Roosters' turn to defend.
Well, it's funny when you think about it. We've got Sydney City on one side, but we've got St George, who are a Sydney club, playing against them. All the Sydney clubs trying to grab the high ground to impress the corporate sponsors that they represent Sydney. Tallis. 35 out. Still the score 9 points to 8 in favour of Sydney City. St George scored 2 tries. Bartram couldn't kick a goal. Sydney City a try, 2 goals and a field goal. Stevens Lovely pass, sneaky pass to Barnhill to Gould-coached. Numbers out here for St George. Brown tackled by Clark. Should have given it, didn't. Bradley strong. Plays as much like a forward as a back these days. Brown, here's the call for the blind side. Mundine back to Barnhill. The Roosters defence coming up in a straight line. And that's great defensive work by the Roosters. They didn't panic, they just stuck to their line. Last tackle. Mund with a kick. Oh, Walker fell over, but pulled it in. Well, a little bit of luck, I suppose. Bad luck and then good luck for Andrew Walker.
Well, just the kick a little bit short from Mundine. And Andrew Walker shows great skills here. He slips over, able to reach out and cool and calm and collected, and saves the day for the Roosters, but fantastic defence by them.
That's one area where St George have been stronger. Their short kicking game, it's been very effective close to the opposition try line, whereas the Roosters, their stab kicks into the end goal just seem to give away the ball most of the time.
I don't know about that, Warren.
Well,
I think we've seen.
Well, what
St.
about
George
Iro twice, Gaffey once have just kicked it and given the ball back.
Now that was good judgment by Bell. That's one of the few times where the St George fullback has been hit hard there.
And away go the Roosters through Clark. St George player hurt badly in the tackle, just lost the ball. Now Tallis is being called out and cautioned. 10 in the bid. That's a body blow to St George. Tallis off. Or an indiscretion in the tackle. Meanwhile, the other St George player still writhing around on the 20. Is it Mark Bell?
Bell it is.
Eddie Ward had signal time on, but now he's gone over to check on Mark Bell, and he's waved time off again.
Well, he's gone too. That's our third concussion of the afternoon. Probably our fourth, because Chris Quinn looked to go off with some problems as well. So it's been a brutal encounter. It's
been sickening, really, to watch these fellas copping these knocks, and most of them accidental. There's David Boyle, famous South Sydney player, through the good years and the bad years. Now helping out the Dragons.
They must be almost out of replacements, are they, St George?
Chris Quinn was a blood bin. But there's been 2 KOs. Well, 3 counting Garlick.
Yeah, 3 KOs. It's one of those sort of things that happens in the wet. Players slip upon impact, get a little reckless.
Walker's kicked 2 from 3, and they've been important goals. They've been close to the posts, but Bartram has missed with his shots at goal. 20 minutes to go, and every point is vital in this game, and here's 2 more on offer. Walker puts it straight between the sticks. It's 11-8 in favour of Sydney City. 3 goals now for Walker. Salvatore might be setting himself for another stint.
He's keen.
There's the St George dressing room with Tallis just prowling around the shower area. His team down to 12 men now. We also saw Damien McGarry, I think it was, sitting on the bench there, so at least he seems to be okay, but nursing a sore head. East with the extra man, and another 9 minutes to make the most of it. O'Donnell gives it to Lowry. Three points the difference as Smith goes up the middle. Went through 2 tackles. O'Donnell, the experienced dummy half, gets it to Gaffey. Hermanson just over the halfway line. 1 to go for the Roosters. Walker, the torpedo, skidding down towards the corner post. Sisti at fullback now. Tackled by Ricketson. A very good chase from Luke Ricketson.
He's one of the best in the business in the chasing game, is Ricketson.
2 in a row now. Almost a surprise that they put him out to the centres today, because he's been playing so well at lock forward. Scoring tries, his game has really lifted in that position. Back in the centres today through necessity, through Phil Gould's decision not to use Adrian Lamb. It's considering that Lamb, you know, apparently isn't injured, just tired, is surprising. Orford now. The Roosters defence battering St George here. They're not going far at all. They've used up 5. Goldthorpe shifts the ball wide. Mundine running it. Coyne now. It is the last tackle. There's the kick. Junie has it covered though. And too fast for them. Goldthorpe chases. Can't get him. Flicks the pass out to Ricketson. Good football by the Roosters. Ricketson now. Great work by Junie. He ran right around them and then put a 2-on-1 situation for his side. Smith. Gaffey. Hudson. Mundine inside to make the tackle. Walford stuck to his wing. 20 out. Smith. St George hanging on with 12 men. Down by 3 points. Iro. Gaffey. Looks for Clark. He can't handle. They were working that short side. Not much room to move. And not really much value to be had. Zisti trying to clear it away. Twice as many errors by St George all up.
Oh, good hit.
It was Smith again. Having a great game. With plenty of good players out there on the field. Jacko's judgment is going to be a tough choice today. Brown. Mundine goes in amongst the forwards. Comes back out again, looks for Brown. Out wide, chance for Goldthorpe, but he goes inside. Didn't want to chance the long pass. Intercept by Clark, though. Barnhill getting the ball back. Clark coming back onside. Intercepted. The impassive face of Phil Gould. Gives very little away during a football match. O'Donnell. 11-8. The Roosters leading. 15 minutes to go. Moments to play it. Again, they shoot down the blind side. Salvatore goes inside this time to Clark. 5th tackle. Walker's in there calling for it. Field goal attempt. It's a beauty. No question over that one. Interesting decision, but a fine kick. Takes them to a lead of 4 points. So St George have to get a try and a goal to get in front now.
Well, it is an interesting decision to go for the field goal because that only makes it a 4-point margin. And as you said, a try would tie it and a converted try would put St George ahead. So I think that's a testament to the St George defence. The Roosters have had all the ball, St George have made all the mistakes, yet the St George defence has remained intact.
And they haven't backed themselves to score a try against 12 men.
No.
Tallis won't be back for a few minutes yet.
Probably. No, what do you think about that one, Petey, the field goal?
Yeah, I thought it was coming. He had all the time in the world, but I think any point today is a valuable one. But Saints have just shown that maybe they've got something in their armoury there that can pull a try out. They have scored 2 today. East certainly look on top at the moment, but possession is just ruling the game at the moment, and East making good use of it and good yardage. It is Salvatore.
Oh, he's wound up Salvatore and he's got the pass away, but Werrett can't pull it in. And that was very nearly shut the gate because Werrett is so fast. And we've got to go back a tackle earlier. Great pass by Iro to Smith to get them on a roll here, but look at Salvatore.
Well, look at the big unit go, Salvo. And he's a front rower that can pass the ball. Unlike a lot of other high-profile front rowers, Salvatore has got great skills, can unload a ball and can put a player in holes. And he showed on that occasion where if he catches that one, it's try time because he's probably the fastest player. Well, he's probably the fastest player we've ever seen in rugby league, Shane Werrett.
Now Coyne steps back into the forwards, gives it to Brown. And some room to move for the Dragons all of a sudden. Chris Quinn back from the blood bin. Sakuru. Colin Sakuru through the tackle of Clark. 10 metres inside the Roosters half now. Stevens, Mundine. Striding out, Mundine, but there's nowhere to go. Clark's got him. 30 metres out. Stevens This has been a great game of football, and there's 13 minutes to go. The Roosters leading 12-8. Tough game. Both teams hammering away at each other. Priddle now. Tackle by Clark Lowe. Goldthorpe goes to the blind side himself. Well, that wasn't a real smart decision. I don't think that was the right option.
Yeah, it was a rush decision. Great work by Jason Hudson, stopping it with his foot.
Yes, St George have been down that end of the field twice, and they've had a kick from Brown, which was ineffective, and then one from Goldthorpe, giving East the ball back, and East will make some inroads. They're full of running at the moment.
Goldthorpe threw the dummy, but they didn't take it, and then he was committed to going the blind. Tallis ready to come back, and don't they need him? O'Donnell with a strong run.
He's got to be careful when he comes back, Gordon Tallis, not to do something absolutely mental, because he'll be pumped up.
Gaffey tackle, 5 short of halfway. 5th tackle. Walker got away from Brown, but the ankle tap was a great one by Brown. Intercept now by Zisti. Zisti's away, referee's called it back, but why?
Oh, he's had a shock already, Ward. St George, a courageous display, and they get an opportunity. Oh, that's... Well, there's Walker. Now, he's not tackled for mine. He gets up, he's still not tackled. He's still not tackled. Bad decision by Eddie Ward. Be nice to see it on the close-up, but for mine, Anthony Walker was never tackled, and they're robbed St George.
Well, you'd have to have backed Zisti there, even though Wirrett is a flyer, and he was about 5 yards behind, ready to turn and chase.
Well, Zisti's no mug either when it comes to the running. It's Gordon Tallis. Now, let's have a look at it now. Anthony Walker, a beautiful ankle tap by Nathan Brown. He's been their best, I think. Now, Walker gets up. He's not tackled there.
No way that he should have called that back. And there was not a hand on Walker. Why would he have called it a tackle? Penalty against the Roosters now. St George, though, will they go for the goal or go for the try?
There's a replay of the penalty. All over him is Tony Iro. And this is a great game of football coming down to the last 10 minutes.
Sakuru. Sakuru tackle just 2 metres out. Brown the dummy up, gives it to Stevens. Throws himself at the line. They hold. Both teams' defence on their goal line has been great today. Barnhill knocked back. Tackler was Iro. Quinn kicks into the in goal. Can they get out? Clark is tackled off. Barnhill. The kick was a good one, and then the tackle was an even better one.
Oh, that's a great tackle.
That Quinn had to do that.
Adrian Lamb warming up. Yeah. Take us through this one. There it is. And, oh, Chris Quinn, that, as you said, Peter,
he got off the ground too. He realised that if he didn't get a restart, he'd probably let his teammates down. They had another 2 tackles up their sleeve.
Jimmy Smith.
Barnhill takes it on the leg safely. Comes back, and a copybook tackle from Iro. Drove in at the legs hard. 9 minutes, 40 seconds to go. 12-8 in favour of the Roosters. Tallis out there to St George once again, and he's ready to take it on the blind, but Brown goes himself. Smith closes the gap. 20 metres out now. The Roosters, desperation now for Sakuru for St George. And he's chopped down. Over the top came Juni. Underneath it was Lowry. Goldthorpe, Goldthorpe, Goldthorpe! He's there! Goldthorpe over. The scores are level. Great football by the little halfback. He threw half a dozen dummies. He kept them guessing. The little hole was there, and he slid through it. 12 points all, kick to come for the Dragons. Noel Goldthorpe, a key player in this side. The dummy inside, the dummy outside, and pulled through a tackle that really should have been made. They can't hang off him.
That's exactly right. Noel Goldthorpe, here he is, inside to Sakuru, and he's had a good game since he's come on, the big Fijian. Gets up with a nice play of the ball. Now let's have a look. The Roosters here just hanging off a little bit. You can't hang off Noel Goldthorpe. He throws the dummy. Tony Iro, or Gaffey, it was the man, beaten, and Goldthorpe goes in. Let's have another look at it from the wide angle. Goldthorpe throws a beautiful dummy and slices through that hole. And that's justice, and what a courageous effort from the St George side. We saw them beat Norse a couple of weeks ago with the Bulldogs with 12 men. Gordon Tallis has been off the field for 10 minutes. They've defended courageously. All game they've defended courageously, and they've got the armoury when they get down their end.
Now, Wayne Bartram hasn't kicked the goal from 3 attempts, and this is not an easy one. 8 metres in from touch, 20 out, bringing it around elbow. Pressure kick from Wayne Bartram is a beauty. What a kick to produce. 7 minutes to go now. St George hit the front 14-12.
Well, they've been on the back foot most of the game, St George. He's doing most of the running with the ball. This is the ruck that led up to it. This lad's a good player, Sukaru. He's taken the ball forward well. Just look at East's defensive line here as we look at the head-on shot. Watch 28 Gaffey. Look, he just faked to him a little. He should have gone to Gould-coached, but Gould-coached, very good player, has done it. And Bartram thinks he's got a maroon jumper on. He's kicked the goal.
It's all about pressure, Peardy, isn't it? It's all about pressure, and, you know, it's okay to play good football when you're 30 points ahead, but you only get judged under pressure.
Look, Brian Smith, should they win this, St George, Brian Smith will probably rate this as one of the best victories he's ever been associated with. This has been a class game, and St George have got everything to be proud of, as is Mark Coyne, one of the stars of the game, flicking it back to Bartram.
St George have come alive. Aidan Lamb's about to come on for the Roosters. Sakura charges ahead.
Oh, look at
he
it
knocks
go.
Mark Prothero out of the road. Prothero fresh, just knocked aside there. Brown gets it away to Mundine. Mundine, he spins. So elusive as Mundine. 24 metres out, last tackle coming up. Gould-coached on the blind side. Bombs back towards the posts. And taken in the end by Walker, who's had a tremendous game. But the chasers were blocked. I think Hermanson was one who managed to get in the road.
It's not over yet, Warren. The Roosters aren't going to throw the towel in.
Well, they've got plenty of reason to believe that they can win this game. They've played strongly all day. They've put together great patches of play. Now Lowry. The question is, whose end of the field are you playing at? The Roosters have got to get down that other end. Here's Lamb. Played so well in the State of Origin series so far. The 2 games, he's had great performances. Walker running it on the last. Gets away from one. Brown got him, but then they go to Werrett with Ricketson putting the kick through. Werrett chasing through. Quinn is back there. Gets underneath, but Werrett makes the tackle. Fine result with 5 minutes to go for the Roosters. They ran it and then still managed to put the kick to the goal line.
It's a good option. With a bloke like Shane Werrett, you always back his pace, and there's a great option by Ricketson.
Yeah, it's a very good play in these conditions, because look where St George are now, only 10 metres out. They've only got to come up with a fumble, and East will be right on top. But East, well and truly still in this game.
Jason Stevens is down. Brown knocked over by O'Donnell.
I don't call them Roosters, I call them Easts.
Good on you, Beardy. As Gould-coached charged down by Lamb. The Roosters have got it. 6 tackles, 20 metres out. Men out wide. Hermanson. Tackle 15 out. No dummy half. They come from everywhere to get there. Lamb gives it to Walker. He's inside Brown, but he can't get away from Mundine. 10 out now. St George leading by 2 points. 4 minutes to go. Lowry. Lowry strong. Coyne calling his men across. Iro. Ricketson takes off. Still going as Ricketson. He's thrown the ball on the ground and he's lost it forward. Touch judge has his flag in the air, but the ball had been lost already.
Well, the mighty Saints, they don't deserve to lose this one. Their defence has just been absolutely incredible on their own line. There's another great tackle by Wayne Bartram. He did enough to stop his progress, and Ricketson knew he was sliding into touch, tried to flick one out the back. Eddie Ward found a knock-on in there, and as I said, I just can't give this St George side enough raps for the way they've defended today. Shown courage. The other side have had all the possession, all the field position, and only been able to come up with 1 try.
Juni is going back to fullback, but he's hobbling, he's in trouble. I think he might have even pulled a hamstring. He's on one leg, Darren Juni. George, well, they're leading. They don't have to go for anything crazy here. Sakuru lost it. He was hit hard in the tackle by Hermanson, and the ball came out. Gould praying for a win here, and his side will be shattered if they do lose. They played strongly, but at the moment they're losing by 2.
Well, that's a good hit. I think it was Hermanson came in, jolted the ball free. Darren Journey in the background, struggling with
I think it's a calf
injury.
Might be a cramp.
Here's the little fella from Queensland.
Lamb thrown into the game with only 10 minutes to go. Clark to Prothero. They're 35 out. The 2 field goals at the moment have come to nothing. Iro charges. Tony Iro, 15 out.
He's been good today, Iro. Strong.
Once again, St George have to tackle. Ricketson. He's only 6 metres out. Last tackle coming up. 2 minutes to go. Lamb running it on the last. Throws it out the back. 6 more tackles, says Eddie Ward. I didn't think there was a St George hand.
Yeah, Nathan Brown just threw his hand out.
Bit of luck for the Roosters. Away goes Phil Clark. Eddie Ward waving St George back. Iro. Can they hold out? Iro's over! Tony Iro scores what's got to be the match winner. And the Roosters come charging in to congratulate Tony Iro. Well, St George's defence has worked so hard, but they finally cracked. 6 more tackles to the Roosters with the crucial play, or the crucial nod from Eddie Ward that gave them another go at it, because Adrian Lamb had got all hooked up on the last tackle, but Iro has gone ploughing through to score the match winner.
Well, there he is. He's always looked like he was going to do something today, Tony Iro. He just bust through Gordon Tallis and Noel Goldthorpe. Quinn couldn't do enough to stop him from going over. And the mighty St George Dragons, they've been courageous today, but the Roosters, to their credit, have hung in there right till the death and came up with the winning play just on full time. There he goes, Iro. Gordon Tallis and Noel Goldthorpe get in each other's way, and unfortunately for the Dragons, the Roosters go over. A courageous performance by the Red and Whites, but let's not take anything away from the Roosters. They've done everything right today. They've been patient. Andrew Walker's had a great kicking game, and in the end, their patience has paid dividends.
The problem was that Noel Goldthorpe was a man on the outside. He had to come in and hit hard, and he just isn't strong enough and big enough to do it against a man like Tony Iro. Tallis on the inside had the more awkward tackle. Now Walker to put the icing on the cake. Pops it through. Sydney City Roosters lead by 18 points to 14, and we'll be lucky to get a kick-off. And the siren will go. They've got a kick-off in. That's about all, though. Prothero takes it safely. And he will be tackled to end the game. A mighty game of football. St George will be shattered. The Roosters, well, it looked as if they'd been locked up in jail, but they've got out. Sydney City 18, St George 14. Both teams can hold their heads high, though, and believe that this season has got a lot of wins in it left for both of them.
Yes, what a great game of football. And that's 2 great games we've seen this week. There's Nigel Gaffey and David Barnhill, 2 Canberra-rated teammates, having a bit of a laugh and a joke. I'm sure David Barnhill doesn't think too much is that funny at this stage, but oh, that was a great game of football. In the conditions, the handling was great. The hits were enormous, vicious. We saw some pretty nasty injuries. The Roosters players go over to congratulate their fans, and they might well be happy, because the great thing about their win today was their patience.
And I'll tell you what, the crowd today, I don't know how big it is, but they have really got behind these 2 sides today. They've had a whale of a game. They've roared all day long. It's been a great atmosphere. And Debbie Spillane is with Phil Clark.
Phil, fantastic debut, and what a game to start in the Winfield Cup in a real 80-minute arm wrestle, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, as the time ticked away, we thought perhaps, you know, they were going to hold out. They played some great football, but, you know, all credit to the Roosters. Showed tremendous spirit, and the try came from Tony Iro at the end was, you know, a reward for the hard work that everybody put in over the 80 minutes.
you were originally selected in the second row and then played at 5'8", finished up at lock. Would you like to play in the side?
We're not bothered really. We play as a workman-like team, and whatever position you're, you know, we have the same principles that apply, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Well, there was a lot of positional changes, and Phil Gould, of course, was away with the Origin team. So it's an amazing effort considering it was a disrupted week for everyone.
Yeah, preparation went well. We trained under Joey Thomas, our assistant coach, and we've had a very good week. So, I mean, obviously it's only one win. We've just got to build from there.
And what's your overall impression of the standard?
Very high, very strong. Everyone's pretty tough, so I really enjoyed it as my first game.
Okay, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Yes, and Johnny Peard, he's down there with one of the many stars of the Roosters team. I was going to say East, but you'll say East, Peardy. Andrew Walker.
Yes, Jacko, I've got Andrew Walker. Andrew, it was a sensational game. What about from the players' point of view?
Oh, well, you know, with this rain, you know, it was pretty hard against the old team, but we sort of dug in a little bit deeper at the end there, so it was a great win. And I'm really proud of the boys, you know, against my old team to get up, so it was great, yeah.
Well, Adrian Lamb was hurt, wasn't he? But the move to put you into halfback with your kicking game, gee, I thought that was a winner for your club.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Gus told me all week that our kicking game is going to win the game. We didn't expect rain, but he said I got a bigger boot than Noel Goldthorpe, so we just sort of stuck at our guns and just played the 6 out and played it down in our half actually.
There's a bit of talent in the side, particularly in the forwards. What about Phil Clark? He played well, didn't he?
Oh yeah, it is a bonus with Phil Clark coming over. Like he's just one of them players who can lift game when you're really down and out. He really talked really well. He mixed in well today, so it's great for Clarkie actually.
And you don't feel sorry for your old club?
Oh, no, not really, because, you know, I was hoping for a really big game against my old club, so I'm just glad we got up with a great win, actually.
Well, you had a great game. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Okay,
Yeah.
back to you, Warren.
So